Welcome to Clubhouse with a review of the Bandai high-grade Iron-Blooded Orphans 1144 Gundam Gremory, which continues the odd trend where Iron-Blooded Orphans side story kits come all detached and abandoned by their supporting media. The proper IBO media support ended around 2018, and in 2020, the Gundam Arcosias was dragged out of Bandai's cellar, and it just terrified everyone with how under-budgeted and under-engineered it was. Oh, and it was supposed to be for that game that died in development. Yeah, I know they resurrected it, and I know it's coming, we'll get to that. Later that year, we got another Orphan from that game with the HGIBO, and oh hey, they spelled it wrong here, which is almost certainly meant to be the Barbatos, and it's piloted by Mikatsuki's daughter at some point before it was retconned on paper, but they still sold us that whole thing without changing how it looks, and all they did was, no, it's not related, this is totally its own thing, we made it so that's how it is. And then we've got the Gundam Gremory from the side story comic Gekko, but that comic had wrapped up back in 2018. Even Bandai is aware of how awkward it is to release this kit today, where they don't even use the comics' logo on the box. So let me offer you my 2 cents of why I think this kit exists today in 2021. I think after Bandai decided for some reason to dig up the remains of that IBO phone game, you see, I told you we'd get to it, that's coming next year, then they just went, hey guys, can you put out some kits to drum up some hype for this game? And all the engineers and all the designers went, but you made us release those already. And he was like, geez, just go to the back room and see if there's anything else we can use. Just throw something out there. Do I have to teach you people everything? And so now we have that something. I mean, I am serious. I absolutely think that the Gremory was probably something they worked on at some stage in the past, but they never released. And then because right now they needed an IBO kit of some kind, that's whatever they had that was easiest to make and closest to a finished retail product. Of course, I based that on absolutely no evidence and just a tinfoil hat, but in case I'm right, then you remember, you heard it here first. Anyway, the high-grade Gundam Gremory was released on October 16, 2021, and is sold for a price of 1,980 yen. The box art is done by HG box art veteran Naochika Morishita, and the box measures 30 by 19 by 7 centimeters, so it is a standard HG box size. The short side of the box tells that this is the 42nd kit in the IBO line, with everything else repeated from the front of the box. The other side is exactly the same. The long side has studio shots of the Gremory and the battle anchor and everything, and the other side has a front and a back shot of the Gremory and then a plug for other IBO kits that I'm sure you're never ever going to find in this store as of this video. Inside the box, we get the Gremory spread across 7 runners with 1 fully polycaps. It uses the common IBO Gundam frame, which is known to age very poorly. We get a sheet of foil stickers with 1 here for the eyes, and these white ones here for the shoulders. This triangle one for the inside of the shoulder, this one here for the lower arm, and then this one here for the thrusters on the back, and then these ones here that go on the feet. For the instructions, we get some info on the front about the Gremory and the pilot, where they just pretend the comic isn't a thing and they never mention anything else from it. At least on the back here, underneath all the studio shots, we get the Astaroth down here pretending like they don't know each other. Then there are 3 more color pages on the inside that's all used for assembly instructions. The black and white side is also all used for instructions, as you'd expect. My box happens to be imported from Japan, so there was this printed ad inside, so I might as well show you guys. This is for Gundam Breaker Bad Log, and its 3-prong attack on us with the really nice animation, which you really should go watch on YouTube. And the models, which are only just now starting to come to the rest of us in the world that's not America, and the phone game, which I don't happen to play myself. About 2 hours later, we have the Gremory put together, and if you're a fan of the Gekko comic, then I'm sure it's actually quite the miracle that you can see this in the flesh as a model kit. The hot pink stands out brightly against the dark purple of the armor, and we get a light tan color for the lightly armored parts for the rest of the mobile suit. The work done here for the sculpt certainly isn't half-baked, with the upper torso here giving you a sense of how the armor is layered on top of a mobile suit underneath. I think one of the best reasons to get this kit is if you like how it looks, because it really does come out looking like nothing else, and the design really carries a lot of context and information about how it's built and how it functions. The all-important hood has this supporting piece at the front, which I forgot to flip down before this point, but it's supposed to go from the down position to the raised angle to shield the face. Once it's up, we need to go to the back to swing the hood up that's offset on an arm. To give you a better view, this piece swings up and over the head like this, and there's no trouble with it hitting the antenna, and the whole movement is very smooth, so you're gonna quite enjoy playing around with this. It doesn't actually hide the face, and that hot pink is gonna stare right through the hood. We have something kind of similar on the arms, where these long armor panels are actually offset on an arm. They dip up to here where they are locked at this position, so that when you swing the whole thing forward and over the hand, they become small shields, which I guess works in theory, though I think they would have worked just fine if they were still on the back of the hands in the first place. I appreciate there being an extra function on the kit, though I don't think I'd ever display the kit like this and trying to be Gundam Maxter, but that appreciation is really soured when you realize that this armor may be better off not being here at all. The armor tries its best to get out of the way like this if you need to use holding arm, and if you look at it like this, it looks as though we've got enough clearance. But if you have any other IBO kit, you know that the grip on the arm is actually at an angle. So the handle right here, it actually hits the armor, which doesn't look so bad right here, but once you try to pose the kit, it will annoy you enough where you will ask, why did they put this armor here in the first place? Okay, let's also address the elephant in the room that I'm sure you've noticed just now. For the hands, we have a pair of holding hands that's standard to all IBO kits, and then we have a nice pair of open palms. The holding hands and the open palms are not the same color, and this hits especially hard when the hands here are so unique with that burning pink. The holding hands overall look a little bit ugly, with the backplate there looking really sloppy as it transitions into the fingers, although I won't blame this kit too much since this has been a problem with a lot of IBO kits that also use these fingers. But you know, Bandai, if you had to make these pink anyway, it wouldn't have hurt to give us a new pair of hands that fixes these problems. Oh, but these hands will come back later and give us some more grief. But first, let's look at the open palms, which are much harder to find complaints about. It's really fortunate that those long, slender fingers are sculpted as beautiful as they are, because the pink really draws a lot of attention onto them, so they are a key part of this kit's look. They shame the other hands some more by showing them how that backplate is supposed to fit into the hand, but yes, the simple word here is that these hands are important to the kit and it makes it look a lot better, unlike the other hands. And similarly, they didn't cheap out on the battle anchor here, which is really long and it has a really substantial head at the top. The intact side of the blade curves smoothly into a hook and it looks very fancy and very ornate. The broken side is well done enough, though if you look at it from the side, sometimes you get the impression that someone took a bite out of it. And that battle damage on both sides are the same, which really will bug you once you notice it. But nitpicking aside, it is a beautiful weapon and it's very easy to love it. And here is how tall it is next to the Gremory itself. And if you pull off the blade on each side of the head, the connectors are actually the same on both sides, which means if you have two of this kit, you can restore the battle anchor to the original state if you want. Now, holding the anchor is not as peachy. Once we have it inside the holding hand, initially you'll think it's not too bad and it seems to handle the weight, but really soon you're going to see this situation where the weapon basically slips freely right through the hand like this, and it rolls around helplessly as well. But you're not crazy, the grip really was okay in the beginning. If we look at the hand from the side, we can see the culprit, where the backplate on the hand is being lifted up a little bit by the weight of the weapon, so much so that there's a very noticeable gap right here. If it were properly closed like this, then the anchor is actually held really tightly. If it's left to its own mechanical strength, then the plate is lifted up once again. This is all to do with the connection on the back of the plate, which is only connected at the back, and it really can't handle such a top-heavy weapon. So these hands right here absolutely don't work as a pair with the weapon, and it's a shame that this is what we're stuck with. The nozzles on the back here have two joints where they can swing side to side all the way until they hit whatever stops them, and they can rotate along the peg that goes in their torso. The turning angles can be a little awkward, but they really do help when you're posing the kit. On to the articulation. Starting from the top, the head goes up a little bit, and it goes down like this. It turns to the side, but it gets blocked by the collar. The shoulder joint swings up a little bit, and if you move the armor out of the way, the arm can swing outwards this much. The entire arm can rotate a full circle. The biceps let the lower arms rotate a full circle as well. The elbows can bend up well past 90 degrees thanks to the cut of the armor. The hands can be adjusted on their ball joints, and they can rotate around in a full circle. The waist dips forward this much, and it bends backwards quite a bit more. As you'd expect for an IBO kit, the waist rotates a full circle even though it's a bit clumsy to do so. The front skirt is oddly attached to the side skirt where they swing upwards together as one unit like this. The front skirt does rotate on its own as well, but you're rarely going to use this when you're posing. The back skirt doesn't move at all. The legs swing upwards about 90 degrees. The thighs can rotate side to side. The thigh joint itself can swivel a little bit like this. The legs kick forward this much, and they kick backwards about 45 degrees. The knees bend really nicely, though not quite 180 degrees. The feet are on this infamous ball joint, which becomes a major weakness as these kids age. The armor on the front here can swing downwards like this. The toes can swing forward this much. The entire feet can rotate along the ankle as well a whole lot. This is an IBO kit, so it uses the same type of IBO joints. On the bright side, it moves exactly as well as any other kit from the line, and it really is versatile when you're trying to pose it. If you've ever had any other IBO kit, then you know exactly how good it is. Which is also to say, this kit is doomed to having slipping joints once it ages, with places like the ankles that we talked about before, or the entire knee that might just collapse and not have any more friction in it. This is sadly unavoidable, and it's unfortunate that this kit released so far into the future, but it just reuses all that old engineering and it inherits all of its worst flaws, even though they aren't obvious yet on my brand new kit. For size comparisons, here's the lower end benchmark, the entry grade RX-78. And here's the upper end benchmark, the high grade new Gundam. The Gremory is actually a little bit taller than you might think, with a lot of the extra height coming from the heels. The standard IBO Gundam is about as tall as the RX-78, but the Gremory goes pretty clear past the granddad and stands about in between the RX-78 and the new Gundam. The nozzles on the back makes it about as tall as the new Gundam stands. The armor on the Gremory may look thick, but it won't look particularly large against other kits on your shelf, and it's just gonna blend in just fine. With all that said, here's a Hobby Clubhouse 3-point verdict on the Bandai high-grade Iron-Blooded Orphans 1144 Gundam Gremory. Number 1, it feels like something that should be on P Bandai. If you knew what the Gremory was and I told you in 2020 that Bandai was making a kit of it, you'd think for sure that it was going to be a P Bandai release. And it even has the P Bandai sort of quirks as well, with like the wrong colored hands and the Gundam itself being a really niche character that only a subset of fans would actually know what it is. No doubt if you're such a person and you know what it is, you're thrilled beyond belief that this would actually get made into a kit. But it's far more likely that you're one of the many people who didn't know what the Gremory was until Bandai said they were making this kit, and even then, Bandai doesn't seem to want to tell you that this is from Gekko. So why this kit gets to be a retail release when tons of other kits with mass appeal gets locked away as P Bandai is anyone's guess. This seems like the rare kit that is actually suitable for a P Bandai release for a small targeted audience, but there's just no guessing why Bandai does Bandai stuff sometimes. And number 2, it's beautiful, but it's also very flawed. The kit looks great if you like this particular design and that eccentric coloring, and it's definitely very well sculpted with very little that you can nitpick about that too much. But the battle anchor doesn't work out of the box, and that is a serious deal breaker for a lot of people. The other oddities like the armor on the arms and the different colored hands are kind of annoying, but you can at least tolerate them. So it really comes down to which side wins out for you in the end, and if you're gonna give the Gremory a spot on your shelf. And number 3, it's better that we have it here than not. Whether or not you're gonna get this kit, I think the Gundam model catalog is richer and better with the addition of the Gremory, which I don't think I can say with such confidence for the Marcosius. And this is a kit I really honestly believe was originally going to stay as a prototype and be unknown to all of us forever. And even if I'm totally wrong about where this kit comes from, it's still a wonderful gift for the Gekko fans that'll make them feel more appreciated. Yes, it is a confusing product for sure at the time of the release right now, but in the future, maybe you're watching this video a few years down the line, the Gremory will have settled into the Gundam catalog and it's gonna feel like it was never 3 years late to the party for new fans like you. So that's a review for the HG Gundam Gremory, which is a surprisingly bare-bones kit in the end. But simple as it is, I hope this video has helped fill in some of the holes about this kit and what it is that Bandai has just left out. Thank you so much for watching. Come look us up on social media with updates on upcoming videos and sneak peeks at future projects, links in the description below. Or hang out here some more with one of these other videos. But before you go, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to be notified of new videos from Hobby Clubhouse, and I'll see you next time.